Almost every big company's story can be depicted by a wave-like chart, where every brand has its ups and downs, sometimes being on the verge of oblivion and other times being on the pages of business magazines for years. The brand we're going to talk about today is the exception. No matter how strange it may sound, it was created only in 2010, managing to turn the technology market upside down in just 4 years. But before we begin, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with future content. Today, we are going to focus on Xiaomi. After all, it was Xiaomi that gained a leading position in the production of electronic devices. We should note that the company regularly expands its product range, breaking all records in terms of sales, with annual revenues in 2021 amounting to unreal $50 billion, bypassing its main competitors. The date of the company's foundation is considered to be April 6, 2010. In fact, the young entrepreneur came up with the idea of creating his own brand long before that. We're talking about Lei Jun, who, since 2015, has ranked among the 10 richest people in China. Ahead of the story, he, like many, started at the very bottom, and today we see the result of his work on the endlessly long shelves of stores. Now the founder of Xiaomi is said to be one of those people who achieve success by any means. Lei Jun was born in 1969 in the small town of Zhentao, Hubei province. The future entrepreneur's childhood was rather normal, with no outstanding achievements. There's also not much information about his family, and we only know that his father was a civil servant. At school, Jun had a low profile and an average academic record. He even enrolled at Wuhan University to study computer science only because he wanted to attend the same classes as his friend. Well, that is all we know about this period of Lei Jun's life. At that time, computer technology in China was poorly studied, and Wuhan University was one of the first HEIs in the country engaged in this field. However, despite the unique opportunity, Lei did not seem enthusiastic about the prospects awaiting him. He simply tried to be as good as the other students, which led him to abandon his usual afternoon nap routine and get serious about studying. Later on, he liked to develop programs, which greatly increased his interest in studying, so he never had any problems with his grades. But at the same time, he faced other challenges. You'll probably chuckle, but there were few computers at the university, so you had to spend a long time waiting your turn to get access to them. Still, even with all these difficulties, Lei quickly got accustomed to the situation and spent most of his time in the computer lab. He managed to take the seats of those who didn't come to class and was ready to help, explain, and even do assignments for someone else. In fact, he spent more time on the computer than his classmates. Needless to say, the teachers didn't approve of such activity, so the student was often kicked out of class. Pretty strange, isn't it? However, the guy didn't give up and invented more and more ways to spend time on the computer. This was only the beginning. As a first-year student, the future entrepreneur came across a book called The Fire of Silicon Valley, which made the guy think about starting his own business. Pretty soon, Lei created the Yellow Rose Society, dedicated to people just as passionate about computers as he was, where all its members wrote programs and even managed to profitably sell their brainchild, encryption software, BitLock 099. At the same time, the entrepreneur's business successes during his studies were often overestimated. For instance, there was a widespread rumor that Lei Jun became a millionaire while he was still a student. However, the entrepreneur put an end to such rumors, noting that at the time, $1,000 was a huge sum for him, and of course, he didn't have that much money back then. That's how he spent his college years, searching for a free computer. In 1991, Lei graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science. So, what happened next? As often happens, the next step is finding a job. Considering that Beijing was the fastest developing city, he went straight there and soon found the job in a research laboratory. We should also say that at that time, his earnings were higher than average. Still, as he recalls, he didn't get much pleasure from working there. The guy wanted to evolve, beckoned by new, unexplored horizons. And that's why the Zhongguancun district, commonly referred to as China's Silicon Valley, became the entrepreneur's favorite place in Beijing. So, his strong involvement in the technological life of the capital led him to quit a prestigious science job just a year later and make a drastic change in his life. He made every effort to find opportunities with large technology companies, but no one accepted him because of his lack of experience and contacts. However, he didn't give up, so his desire and persistence soon paid off. In November 1991, Beijing hosted a trade show where Lei Jun met Kingsoft's founder and vice president. The guy visited the exhibition as an ordinary guest, but at the manufacturer's stand, he asked such provocative questions that the man even invited him to a business dinner. We don't know anything about their conversation, but Lei evidently made a positive impression on the businessman and was soon asked to join the Kingsoft team. Today, Kingsoft is the largest developer of office programs and applications, such as WPS Office, while back in 1991, the company had only 5 employees. Even that didn't stop Lei Jun from switching from a stable job in the lab to a startup, and in 1992, he became the company's 6th employee. There is not much information about Jun's early years at Kingsoft. We know that he was a developer and seemed to be quite successful in his job since the company has greatly expanded during his tenure, with him going from the 6th employee to the head of the company in just 6 years. However, not everything was that rosy. Kingsoft's huge problem was software piracy, depriving it of a significant share of revenues. Moreover, the Chinese market became very competitive, and even so, Lei Jun succeeded in his management and gradually shifted the company's focus to the World Wide Web. Moreover, he spent time on other projects as well. He developed and successfully launched Joyo.com, an electronic marketplace for trading books, videos, and music in his spare time. The service was created in 2000 as a man's personal ambition, but in 2004, he sold it to Amazon for an unreal $75 million. As experts would say later, Lei already had a pretty good grasp of the internet's potential at that time. But even the astronomical sum of $75 million didn't make the young man go overboard, but, on the contrary, made him focus on the future. Money is just money. You can spend it quickly, or you can invest it well, thought the man. And after the successful sale of Joyo.com, he started investing in interesting projects on his own. He worked at Kingsoft until 2007, when he led the company through a successful IPO. It raised $99 million, which certainly satisfied all its shareholders. By that time, the successful manager also owned shares in the company, making good money too. Upon resignation, he retained his position on the board of directors and became chairman in 2011. The financial performance of Kingsoft during the period when Lei Jun wasn't at the head of the company decreased significantly. The entrepreneur said the reason for leaving Kingsoft was the end of the software age and the beginning of the internet era. The internet was what interested Jun the most. Although he did not rush to create his own company, he was concentrated so far only on investment. And frankly speaking, his investments were impressive. As of 2011, he invested in 20 different companies. His further investment activities won't be suspended, but rather overshadowed by the achievements of Xiaomi. Lei Jun's successful investments include financial services provider Local Payment, online apparel retailer Vankel, and UC Web, which developed a mobile browser, UC Browser. The latter is the one that attracts the most attention among researchers of the entrepreneur's biography. The thing is that he joined UC Web as chairman. Moreover, the company has become the dominant figure in China's mobile browser market, and in 2014, Alibaba Group absorbed UC Web, paying a record $3.8 billion. Thus, money was no longer a problem for our protagonist. Now he was maturing a plan to create something new, technological and global. Jun decided to get involved with mobile technology. The created company was called Xiaomi, which means millet in Chinese, or in another version, grain of rice. The funny fact is that initially, Lei wanted to call the company Red Star, but that name had already been taken. In total, the company had 8 founders. Along with Lei Jun, people usually mention his close friend Lin Bin, who had previously worked at Microsoft and Google. However, despite the good team and impressive experience of Lei Jun himself, the entrepreneur was definitely at risk since the mobile technology market was successfully shared between the giants of the industry. So, you can only succeed in it if you could survive the tremendous competition. In this case, for ordinary people, the money invested in a new company only seems huge, but it is not a big sum to open a large-scale business and launch a new brand. Another striking thing about this story is that Lei Jun is a good example of how startups are not the privilege of the younger generation. The entrepreneur was already 40 years old when he founded the company. He already had a significant bank account and led a relatively relaxed and stable life. What else was he missing? That's right, he just couldn't stop. He wasn't concerned with the money, but with the process itself. And that's where Xiaomi comes in. In case you don't know, the first product the company made was not a phone or even a gadget. It was the MIUI firmware for Android smartphones and tablets. MIUI combined the best qualities of iOS and Android. As it turned out, merging the advantages of the two operating systems was a successful solution, allowing MIUI to acquire an army of fans quickly. Pretty soon, the popularity of the firmware spread beyond China's boundaries, making Lei Jun feel satisfied with the successful first attempt. Gradually, MIUI gained recognition as one of the best firmware in the world and continues to be actively used by Xiaomi and other manufacturers. The company's approach to its updates, which take place almost weekly, also impresses. It is also worth saying that Lei Jun was a big fan of the iPhone and decided to create his own version of this device, but with some differences. First of all, he wanted to reduce the cost while retaining all the functionality significantly. In addition, the entrepreneur was going to break the well-known stereotype that Chinese products are of low quality. That's how, in 2011, the company's first phone appeared, Xiaomi Mi 1. The phone got a dual-core processor with a starting frequency of 1.5 Hz, a camera with 8 megapixels, and other technical features that made the Mi 1 a cutting-edge development at the time. At the time of its release, the phone was worth about $317, and in order to achieve such a price, the company abandoned several standard approaches, including saving on advertising, design, and packaging, and refused offline sales. Even now, Lei Jun believes that a truly good product doesn't need striking advertising campaigns. The main weapon to promote the Mi 1 was social media, where Jun boasted impressive followers. The entrepreneur preserved this practice and even today likes to communicate with users on Weibo and other social networks, as well as MeTalk, getting feedback from a huge audience and assisting in the implementation of new features in his products. Many people are even surprised that a man with billions in his accounts and one of Forbes' China's 100 richest manages to communicate with his subscribers. However, I guess he's simply curious about it. Initially, the entrepreneur sold the products through the website, but then he gradually found distributors and launched his own retail stores. Thus, 150,000 Xiaomi Mi 1s were sold in just 12 minutes and 41 seconds. Step by step, the sales model improved. The company started to announce in advance the technical characteristics of the new model and set the official date of its sale via its website. Even now, the products appear in stores later and cost more. Another interesting thing is that focusing on online sales greatly simplifies the company's work and allows it to save money. Xiaomi can sell devices directly from the factory and does not need warehouses. Moreover, the company produces each smartphone for at least 18 months. By the end of this period, its components are much cheaper, which affects the cost of devices. The company even sells some of the smartphones at production cost. This practice seems unprofitable only at first glance, since Xiaomi sells its own mobile services and entertainment, generating a significant portion of the profit. Some of the company's most notable services include MeTalk Messenger, a mix of iMessage and BlackBerry Messenger. In 2016, the Mi Pay payment system was also introduced. In addition, Lei Jun has been gradually acquiring stakes in various popular services like Youku, the largest video portal in China. But the best part is that later on, Lei gave up manufacturing phones on his own, agreeing with Foxconn and Inventec. In 2012, several versions of the Xiaomi Mi 1 appeared, featuring a wide variety of body colors, including orange, red, purple, and so on. Over 1 million Mi 1 were sold in the same 2012, setting the company's record in just 1 year. While flooding the market with his phones, Lei acted out of the ordinary. Probably no one had ever done such a thing before him. When a defect was discovered in the Mi 1, Lei did not apologize and promised to fix it, but immediately started to act proactively, opening several repair shops in Beijing, which offered free assistance to the company's customers. This campaign was a good example of customer focus combined with promotional efforts. Thanks to Lei Jun's actions, the company was once again on the public's radar. information about defective phones took a back seat. The release of Xiaomi Mi 2 marked 2012. It went on sale in August, immediately attracting the public's attention. Indeed, the smartphone was promoted as the world's only phone with a quad-core processor costing only $300. The Mi 2 became one of the most affordable phones, offering great specs and features. The smartphone was equipped with a quad-core processor of 1.1 GHz and Adreno 320 graphics core. The screen supported a resolution of 1280 by 720 pixels. The RAM was as much as 2 GB. The first 50,000 Xiaomi Mi 2s were sold online in less than 3 minutes. Just think about those numbers. The same amount was sold through Lei's microblog in just 5 minutes. Moreover, customers ordered another 1.3 million smartphones. Within 11 months, the company sold more than 11 million devices, and the Mi 2S version surpassed sales of the entire Apple line in the PRC. In 2012, the company raised $216 million, and its value was already estimated at $4 billion. In 2013, the company introduced several new products, such as the Xiaomi Mi 3 and the budget line of Xiaomi Redmi 1 phones. The range was also increased by the release of the Xiaomi Mi TV and by announcing plans to create its own tablets. In a year, 19 million smartphones were sold, making the company the 5th largest mobile brand in China. It was still far from the leadership Lei Jun dreamed of. But at the same time, the company gained a foothold in the market, and given the growth in sales and financial performance, it had great prospects. In 2013, the launch of the company's first store in Beijing was announced. It was called Mi Home. The store looked like an Apple store with 2 special rooms featuring products for the home, the list of which has grown significantly by 2017. Another feature of the store was that it was also a showroom, showing a range of products that you can't buy but can look at. New Xiaomi phones are presented here as samples, but you can buy them only through the website. By 2016, the company had already owned 54 stores. In 2014, the world saw some new products, including the company's first tablet. However, the most notable event was the altercation between Xiaomi president Lin Bin and the head of Apple's design department, Jonathan Ive. It all started with an interview where Ive accused Xiaomi of stealing ideas and called the Chinese company's smartphones just awful. Lin Bin's response was rather tactful. The company's CEO noted that Ive was wrong, and Xiaomi is engaged in creating its unique products. He also suggested that Ive has never used Xiaomi gadgets and offered him a free test of one of the smartphones. In the meantime, the company was growing and expanding its product range every day. Since 2014, in addition to smartphones and tablets, the company has introduced a number of other products: the Xiaomi Mi TV 2 with a 49-inch screen, the Mi Box Pro TV set-top box that supports 4K video format, and the first fitness tracker, Mi Band 1. The latter differed by an incredibly low price, only $13. In the first 100 days, more than 1 million fitness trackers were sold. We should say that the new company now operates in many areas, ranging from smartphone accessories to computers and electric vehicles. The company also produces photo and video equipment, televisions, home electronics, smart home devices, robot vacuum cleaners, and more. Going back to Lei's activities, he started acquiring stakes in Chinese services in addition to actively expanding his lineup. He bought a stake in Baidu-owned video service iQIYI for $300 million and a stake in Youku Tudou, the Chinese equivalent of YouTube. Now the company has also started to build up its own content production assets. When talking about Lei Jun, it is probably impossible not to remember his moniker, the Chinese Steve Jobs. Indeed, there is something in common between them: the way they dress, the format of product presentation, the capacity to borrow good ideas from competitors, and, finally, the ability to build large companies. At the same time, the difference between the entrepreneurs is much more important. Lei Jun is not famous for his exuberant character like Jobs. He's not arrogant, and he's ready to do a lot for his customers. Lei himself speaks very respectfully of Jobs, but at the same time claims that the American entrepreneur probably could not have achieved the same success in China. As Lei Jun sees it, American companies need to learn how to compromise to operate successfully in China, a crucial skill in a country where a lot depends on the government. However, what Lei Jun and Jobs have in common is their work addiction. The creator of Xiaomi worked 100 hours a week at the time of the company's launch, and his schedule hasn't gotten any easier over time. Even now, he avoids talking about his personal life and prefers to devote more time to business. Still, sometimes we see information about his hobbies, one of which is rock climbing. Just so happens, friends, that this man managed to build a world-class company in the most competitive market in such a short time. Lei states that when he launched his startup Xiaomi, he was not driven primarily by money. In fact, he already had it. His main desire was to prove to users all over the world that products from the Celestial Empire had long ceased to be worthless. Today, China offers quality things, but several times cheaper, so the question arises, why pay more? Certainly, even now many people don't consider the products of this brand, preferring Apple or Samsung, but they are often the older generation who have already achieved success as individuals, or they prefer these brands because of personal convictions. On the contrary, the younger generation prefers Xiaomi. And who knows, maybe soon the American and Korean giants will end up in the same place as the once famous Nokia and even Lenovo. What do you think of this brand? What can you say about it? We're curious to get your opinion in the comments. With this, we've come to the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon and give this video a big thumbs up.